So for this week's lesson, you are going to create what's called a value scale, and you're going to practice creating gradation. Now, if you were in our live class, you might remember that the word value refers to the lightness or darkness of shading in your artwork. So if you're shading, you might have a really dark shadow, and we could call that a dark value, or you might have a highlight or a light area, and you could call that a light value. So when we talk about value, we're talking about the lightness or the darkness of a color. So what we're going to be creating today is a value scale. We're going to draw a scale of values, or a little chart that shows light and dark. So I'm going to do mine in 5 equal parts. So I'm going to draw 4 lines on here so that I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little squares here to shade. And I'm even going to number mine. I'm going to number my values. So I should have 5 different values. On the left, I'm going to practice shading in a really light value. On the right, number 5, I'm going to practice drawing as dark as I can, a really nice deep dark value. In between, on 2, 3, and 4, I'm going to have 3 different grays that are slightly darker as they go all the way over to 5. Each one of these values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each one should be different from the others. So I like to start on number 5 actually, and I'm just using a regular pencil here. If we were in the studio, we might use sketch pencils, but I've just got my regular pencil, and I'm going to make this nice and dark. Now, one of the mistakes that people make in shading when they want something to be really dark, they push down really hard. I am giving this some pressure, but I don't want to push down so hard that I'm really making a gouge in my paper. So I want to make a nice deep dark value here, and when I'm shading, I'm not using the pointy tip part of my pencil. I'm actually shading using the side of my pencil so that it's not too liney. I don't want my shading to look hairy or scratchy. I want it to look nice and smooth, kind of like the still water on a pond. So when I'm grading this assignment this week, I'm going to look for really nice, smooth shading. And one of the things that can help is using your finger to smudge the surface, or a Q-tip works really great if you have one, or a tissue, or even just a little bit of toilet paper that you can use to smooth the surface together. So instead of pushing down super hard, I'm using a little bit of pressure, and I'm just going over this a lot to make it nice and dark. So there's my 5. Now I'm going to skip way over here and do my 1. The bigger the difference is between the 5 and the 1, from the lightest and the darkest, the easier it will be to create 3 more values that are distinct and individual in between. So I'm gonna, as lightly as I can and without making it super liney, I'm going to shade in my number 1 as a really light gray. Now we could say we've got a number 0 out here. If we wanted to draw out a number 0, that would be white. That would be no value at all, or it would be the lightest value, okay? I'm gonna use my finger here to smooth this together. And I want you to notice that it's super smooth. It's not liney at all, okay? So here's my number 1, and here's my number 5. Now I'm gonna go ahead and shade in these 3 and make sure each one is completely different from the one on either side of it. So 1 should be different from 2, 2 should be different from 3, and 3 should be different from 4. Okay, so now you can see that I've created 5 different values, and each one is totally different from the one left and right, so they're unique. So 1 is different from 2, 2 is different from 3, 3 is different from 4, and 4 is different from 5. Notice that they're all really smooth and that they're not liney, so I didn't shade with scratchy lines. So now we're going to talk about how to do your gradation. So gradation is a smooth transition from light to dark. And I'm gonna draw this rectangle for my gradation right underneath my value scale, and I want to use all 5 of these values, but I'm not going to have a harsh line stopping and starting each value. I'm actually going to blend them together. So on my left hand side, I'm going to have really, really light, and it's slowly going to fade into my number 2. So I have 1 fading into number 2. And then slowly 2 is going to fade into 3. So it should be fading like a sunset. I don't want to see any harsh edges where one color blends or one value blends into another. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to use my finger to make sure that I blend this in really good. All right, so now I've created my value scale and I've practiced doing my gradation. Notice that I have all 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values present in my gradation, but that they are smoothly fading into one another. So I don't have them in their own individual boxes. They're kind of blending into one another. And also notice that my shading isn't very liney. It's pretty smooth and not scratchy. So for this week's assignment, I want you to open up your Chromebook camera using that little circle on the bottom left-hand screen of your Chromebook, and you're going to search for camera using that, and then you're going to take a picture of your version of this. So you don't have to, if you don't have blank paper, you can use lined paper, any paper is fine, but I'd like for you to recreate this assignment here on your own piece of paper. Take a photograph of this using your camera app on your Chromebook. Then you will go into Schoology and go to the assignment in the week 6 assignment folder, and you are going to click submit, and then it's going to ask you how you want to submit it, and you're going to actually choose file, because when you save a picture on your computer, or when you take a picture with your camera app on your computer, it will save it as a file. So when you go to Schoology to this assignment, you want to upload it as a file. So you're going to choose file, and then you're going to click this picture that will pop up with all of your other files, and you're going to upload that onto the assignment. Okay? I hope you guys have fun shading, and I hope it's really peaceful. I love shading with my earbuds in, listening to some nice music. So I hope you find a quiet time today to do this assignment.